All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Authors Impact Hub podcast. I am super excited. Listen, I know that it's been a minute. I think it's been a minute since we have done an author Q&A. So I'm super excited about the guests we have on with us today. Of course, I am your host, Juanita Woodson, founder of the Authors Impact Hub. We've gone global, y'all. So our last episode that we had an author on with us from Jordan. It was an amazing conversation. So you'd want to make sure that you go and check that out. But today we have on with us, I'm going to call her the Shine enthusiast, right? The shine guru. If you need some shine, some sunlight in your life, you want to go and connect with her and follow her. I feel like anytime I see her come across my Facebook page, my spirits are just instantly brighten up. So Miss Andrea Harrison, we have on with us. I'm gonna say hey cuz because I just told her that is my maiden name. So hey cousin, if you can just share with us a little bit about your background and the book that we're going to be talking about today.
Well, first of all, Juanita, I just want to say thank you so much for having me today. I am both excited and a little bit nervous, but just happy to be here, happy to, be here to serve your audience in any way that I can. I am originally from New York City, the Bronx, to be exact. I moved to Florida when I was 29 years old. I had this agreement with God that I was going to get married before I turned 30. And one of the things my mom told me, she said, you got to get out of New York City if you want to find your man. And so within like a few months of being here, I met my husband. And that was, this year is 24 years ago.
Yes.
And so we have an amazing 18 and a half year old daughter. She's truly amazing. And I just recently lost my mom, who has always been my best friend. We've always been together. In fact, when my husband asked me to marry him, I said to him, my mom and I are a package deal. So you need to be sure that, if you take me, you're going to have her too. And they were actually best friends for the whole time that she was with us. And so I'm getting used to a new normal, having to adjust without her being in my life. It's been rough, just taking it one day at a time. But I'm grateful that, God is our peace in the midst of our storm. And I do my best just to try to choose joy every day. So I'm just happy to be here. As you mentioned, I'm a new author. This is my very first book, Show Up and Shine. And it's a passion of mine because I know that there were times in my life, and there may be still some, areas in my life where I'm hiding. I've hid behind my weight. I've hid behind my hair is not right. I've hid behind, so many different things. People say you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're never going to amount to anything. People call you all sorts of names, and it starts to kind of sink in and you start to question yourself, am I worthy? Am I, do I have value? And so, I had to go on my own journey of my relationship with God is what really, when I really understood who he was, then I could understand who I am and how he sees me. And so my thing is, I don't want not one woman to hide. My mission is to pull them out of the shadows and into the light, because when God created light, he was giving us permission to shine. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Listen, I love that. So in my mind, I'm doing this. Like, I just think that everything that you just said was a reminder, right? I think that when we remember who God says we are, that
Yes.
helps us not to dim our light for sure. So, and I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I can't imagine what it takes to get up and still choose joy each and every single day, not just for you, but the people that you motivate and inspire. as well, right? So I think that that is definitely a big thing. So let's talk about your book, right? So in the season that you are in right now, what is that feeling being a new author? What does that feel like? If you can say in one word, what is the emotion you feel?
Overwhelmed, in a
Okay.
good way, but
Yeah.
overwhelmed, just feeling um like God has given me this as a gift to give the world. So it's overwhelming.
Okay. Okay. I love that though, in a good way,
Mhm.
overwhelmed, because overwhelmed doesn't always have to feel like, dreadful, right?
Right.
Yes, I love that. So let's talk about because you're a new author. So what were you doing before you decided to write the book?
So just to go back a little bit, when I before I moved here to Florida, I actually for the over the past 25 years, I was a paralegal.
Okay.
So I was in the legal field, when I lived up in New York City. When I came here, that was what I continued to do until about 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. I retired. I
Okay.
retired because my daughter, when she was 7 years old, she decided that she wanted to start a business. I had started an event decor business.
Okay.
And I would do, decor at weddings and events and things like that. And so when I started my business, my daughter, who was 7 at the time, said, "If mommy can start a business, then I want to start a business."
Hey.
And so, my husband and I asked her, like, "Okay, what kind of business do you want to start?" So she ended up doing a photography business. She said, "I want to take pictures of little girls and their dolls." And that came out of her seeing my mom have a glamour shot done, and she saw the look on my mom's face when she saw the picture, and she said, "I want little girls to feel that way." And so she started her business, and her business took her to so many different states. I had to end
Yeah.
up traveling with her. And it's in the book. The whole story is in the book about, photographing President Barack Obama, photographing
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey, being on the Steve Harvey show. And so many things happened because she had this dream, this huge dream to photograph President Barack Obama. And so from that, so many different things were happening, and I had to, I had to retire because I
Okay.
had to travel with her, and so, that in and of itself is kind of what I was doing before. And then in the between time, I had found myself in the network marketing space, and I built a multi six-figure business. And I absolutely, love that experience.
Okay.
But there came a time where God said, "Okay, I need you to do this specific thing." And that specific thing was to go live every morning, every weekday morning at 10 a.m. and just share your heart, which
Yes.
inevitably is sharing his heart. And so that step of obedience, that was when my life, everything just pivoted, everything just
Right.
changed. And then that's where Shine with Andrea came from. That's where the book came from. There's a whole story behind it. Most of it is in the book, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more today.
Yeah. So what was that step of obedience like? And how long have you been doing your live on Facebook?
So I started June 2023. So
Okay.
it's been 2 years where I've been going live every single weekday morning at 10 a.m. The
Okay.
only time I had taken a sabbatical was the day after my mom passed until I started back, which was in May. So from May
Okay.
16th until I started back August 1st. So
Okay.
from May 16th to the end of July, I had taken a sabbatical. I even went live the day my mother passed away. And I had gotten a phone call from the hospital. I had been there with her the entire day before. And we knew that, at any moment, God was ready to take her
Yeah.
home. I didn't think it would happen that fast after being with her the whole day the day before, but I had gotten a call from the doctor at 8:38 in the
Okay.
morning, and by 9:58 she was gone. But the thing is that the doctor called, and I was able to pray for her. She couldn't talk at that point, but I was able to pray for her. And I asked the doctor, please put the phone by her ear and just leave it. And so for 20 minutes, from the time that they said she was passing to the time they actually came on the phone and told me that she was gone, I had been praying. I prayed my heart out. I prayed my heart out. I was really believing that
Yeah.
God was going to heal her and that everything was going to go back to normal. He healed her, but he took her home.
Yeah.
That morning, Juanita, God had given me a message. I was taking my notes when the doctor called. I was writing things down. I was getting ready for my live because I go live every morning, right,
Mhm.
at 10 a.m. And when that happened, when she passed, I literally looked up and I was like, bruh, what you want me to do with this?
Right, right.
What am I supposed to do now? Because I said the message you gave me was from healing, from hospice to healing. I was
Mhm.
believing for healing. Now she's not here. What do you want me to do? And with the phone line still open, I went live and I preached I don't like to say preach because I'm not a pastor. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm just a girl from the Bronx that, wants to make God proud.
Yeah.
But when I tell you, I shared from the depths of my soul, and that word that God gave me, I shared it with everything inside of me, with the phone line still open, believing that hearing is the last thing to go and that my mom was still there. Even though she was with Jesus, she was still there.
Okay. Yeah.
And I never told anyone that my mom had passed on that live. I
Wow.
just I just shared what he gave me. And let me tell you, there were so many people who reached out to me afterward. They're like, I don't even know how you did that. I don't even know how you did that.
Yeah.
Knowing your mom just passed. But they said it was so powerful and it was everything that I needed. And that is what my whole message is. We got to show up, we got to shine, even in the times when we don't feel like it.
Yeah, and that's real obedience to God because only he can give us the strength to do those uncomfortable things, the things that if it I'm sure you would have just shut down Facebook, you know what I'm saying? Like and had that time for yourself, but it definitely takes God's strength to pull
Yeah.
you through, to be able to pour into other people when in the moment you probably are needing someone to be pouring into you, praying for you. Absolutely. So I can just imagine the show up that it took for you in that moment. So I love the idea of show up and shine, right? So how does it feel to use what God has given you to pour back into so many other people, whether it's through your going live or even through your book?
Well, I know that, well, it took me a while. It took me a
Okay.
while to really figure out what I was born for. What why God created me. I know that I was born with a purpose. I know that he formed me, in my mother's womb. I know that he knew me before that time. I know that he placed something on the inside of me. But it took me a while to really understand that it was what it was. And one of the things that he says in his word is that he will give us the desires of our heart.
Yeah.
And I know what I've been through. And I know that there's a lot of women that have been through similar things where, like I said earlier, we're hiding because we don't think we have anything to say. We don't think that we can do it as good as everybody else,
Right. Yeah.
and we hide because we're not sure, we don't feel qualified. But when we feel unqualified, that's when God says, perfect,
Yes.
now I can do my thing. When we get to the end of ourselves, now I can do my thing. And so God really placed the desire in my heart to pull women out of the shadows. That
Yeah.
is my purpose. I want to pull them out of the shadows and I want to help them to walk into the light, to be able to walk in in confidence, in God's purpose for their life. And so that's what the book is all about. It's a guide. It's a guide. It's a the busy woman's guide to bold visibility and faith-driven leadership, because there are so many women who are thought leaders and
Mhm.
they're experts in their lane of genius, and nobody knows about them because they're hiding, because they don't think they're good enough, or I don't know if this is, and we question everything. And so it feels really good to know that, and it's a blessing to know that God is using me as a vessel to pour into his daughters,
Yeah,
the ones that he loves so much.
absolutely. I can relate to, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, or I don't know if I get it. I can relate to that. I don't know if my voice will make a difference, right? So why do you think so many women struggle with showing up, struggle with the imposter syndrome that comes along with, I want to walk in my purpose, but I'm afraid to step out from the shadows?
It's the stories in our head. It's the stories in our head. It's the things that we've heard. Maybe sometimes somebody says something and they really don't mean it, but
Yeah.
it hits us a certain way. And it's like we just play it on repeat, repeat. It becomes our soundtrack, and I think that we don't show up and we don't shine because of the stories we tell ourselves. And one of the things that I've had to actively start doing is saying, those are not my thoughts.
Ooh, yes.
Those are not my thoughts. Those thoughts don't come from God. I reject them and I don't accept them. Like, I literally have to say that to myself. I remember I used to sit on the edge of my bed 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning with all of these thoughts swirling in my head, none of them positive. And the word says that it's the good that comes from God. So
Yes.
to say, okay, this is not good. Where is it coming from? Then I realized he comes to do what? Kill, steal,
Yeah.
and destroy.
Yeah.
So if he can kill my dreams, if he can destroy my destiny, if he can steal my joy, then he has me. And then if he has me sitting in a place where I'm not worthy, I'm not valuable, I'm not beautiful, my voice doesn't matter, my story doesn't matter, and I'm questioning everything, am I ready? Then I don't realize that I have to be perfect to be powerful. The power comes from God. And so I think that's what it is. It's the stories we've heard, the stories we tell ourselves. At least that's my story.
Yeah. I think it's been a lot of people can relate. I know that for certain it has been my story on certain occasions, and I will talk myself out of the good things, right? We pray for the doors to be open for us, but then we allow the doubts, the negative things that are going through our head to stop us right when we get to the door.
Yep.
You don't walk through it, right? We trust that God will lead us to the door, but then we let our negative thoughts have more control over us than the voice of God, right?
Mhm.
How crazy is that? Yes,
Just like this morning, I said, God can come and stand right in front of us.
yeah,
Say, I created you for such a time as this. I put in you exactly what you need to do this. And I'm going to give you this. Here, this is the
right,
thing I need you to deliver. And we would look right in his face and say, me? You
right.
sure you want to? Me? You sure? And so, yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Wow, wow. So let's talk about your faith, right? So how has your faith then shaped you to lead the way that you lead with boldness, with the brightness in the spaces that God has called you to?
I think it's because I have seen God move in my life. And so it gives me something to fall back on, because it's one thing when you read the word, you go to church, you hear all the right stuff, but it's when you are in the trenches and
Oof.
God shows up and beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's no way that this could have happened. There's no way I could have gotten out of this. There's no way that my needs could have been met
My
if it
God.
wasn't for God. You have one experience like that where he comes through, in a way that, like, there's no question in your mind. it's not like you just wake up the next day and, everything is, okay, I'm now going to have faith every day of my life. No, because you still, we're human, right? We're human, but that's why he wants us to renew our minds every morning, and he wants us to lean on him. But it's the experiences that I've had, it's the things that I've gone through. When I first went live for the first time doing what he asked me to do, because I used to go live and I used to sell my product.
Okay.
And that was no thing for me to go live, sell my product. And I would be encouraging and inspiring, and I would say certain things, but I had the product to fall back on. So I was like, um, when he asked me to go live and just share his heart, share my heart, it made me scared because I was like, now I don't have the product to fall back on. If I forget something that I want to say,
Right.
I don't have anything to say. I can't switch it up and start talking about the product because now it's just me, him, and his word. And so I had to take that step of faith. My cousin says, put feet to your faith. And I had to take that step of faith. And I remember not wanting to do it because one of the biggest things outside of feeling like I wasn't worthy, one of the biggest things for me was I didn't want to forget what I wanted to say or not have anything to say and just draw a blank and
Yeah.
just be sitting there with the camera on, like feeling uncomfortable because then
Now what?
right. And then that strips you of your confidence. So then now your thoughts start swirling and you're like, see, this is why you're having these conversations in your head. This is why I didn't want to do it. And then, give up. But what I've learned over these past 2 years is I have stood on Psalms 81:10. It says, when you open your mouth, I will fill it with good things. And I've had to rely on him in that way, and I see how he speaks through me. And so that is the core of my faith, is that when he gave me an assignment to do and I felt like I wasn't qualified to do it, but he gave me everything that I needed to walk it confidently. And what I realize is that it's not just about me showing up and talking, but it's the fruit.
Yes.
It's the fruit. It's seeing the lives of other women change. During the time that I was going live for those 2 years and reading from 100 Days of Believing Bigger, which is a devotional journal by Marshawn Evans Daniels, I was reading this book every single day. I read it 4 times,
Okay.
4 times to my audience. And during that time, do you know how many women started to go live and do the same thing? You know how many women started to go live on their own platforms and read that book? And what's funny is on my 1 year anniversary for going live with Shine with Andrea, Marshawn joined us for the live. She joined us. I didn't know her, but it was my obedience that led, it was my yes. Yes, your yes changes everything. So it was my obedience that led to the transformation in my life, that led to me being aligned with his will. And that opens the door for miracles to happen. That opens the door for transformation. That opens the door for impact. And so on that 1 year anniversary, she joined us and we had a great time talking. Within 6 months, I had written the book. And guess who wrote the foreword to my book?
I
Mark
love
Evans Daniels.
I love it.
So, when you talk about faith,
Yes.
when I see what God has done, and when I say yes, and when I'm obedient and I believe that he's got my back and that he's walking with me, and I see what he's done and how he's done it, and he's done things that I could not have made.
Yeah.
I'm smart, I'm brilliant, but I ain't that smart. I'm not that good to, make what he has allowed to happen.
Yes, it's something amazing about what he can do, right? We know that anything that God is a part of, it lasts. Anything that we try to do on our own, like for me, and maybe it's just me, if I tried to do it by myself, I stopped listening to him. I wasn't being obedient. It failed and it failed quick.
Mhm.
And it was a hard fail, right? So anything that we do for God, so not only did it connect you with that author, it also you launched your book, right? So let's talk about your author journey. So were there any things that you maybe struggled with when it came to writing the book? And then how did you overcome those struggles?
Girl, I struggle with writing the book, period.
You're not alone. You're not alone in that.
I struggled with writing the book, period. Like I could not. I mean, I had started originally back in 2020, January 2020, right before the pandemic happened. I started with a writing coach. And she was very, very, very good at what she did. It just wasn't the right fit for me, the way my brain is wired. And so then, so we are struggling trying to make this happen. And it just wasn't coming together. Then the pandemic happened, and the whole world shuts down.
Right.
And so then I tried to do it on my own. It just wasn't flowing. And then fast forward to 2024, I met someone else who this is what she does. And then I met another young lady, and it's like the three of us together was like, they laugh at me and they say it takes a village to raise an Andrea. Um,
I love that.
because it literally took a village to get me to write this book, and God sent me the right people at the right time and gave me the tools that I needed to help me to get what was in my head out on paper. And it was a rough process going through it, but in January I had already it was already a few years where I had said the first time was I want to write this book and publish it on my 50th birthday. Then it
Okay.
was I want to publish it on my 52nd birthday. Okay, I'm gonna do it now and publish it on my 53rd birthday. And that's actually what happened in January when I turned 53. My mother had went into the hospital the week before, and I felt a sense of urgency because she was in the hospital for 4 months. She,
Okay.
and then of course, I told you that she went home to be with the Lord, but I felt a sense of urgency,
Okay.
and I gathered my friends, and I said, "Listen," I said, "Farah, Latera, I need y'all. Join me today on a Zoom, and I need you to help me to get this book out of me." It was a sense of urgency I had that it had to get done. And so we were on Zoom for 12 hours, 17 hours. I was sitting right for like 18 hours by myself. A lot of the time I had to be babysat on Zoom. And it was just having them there to bounce things off. And so that process for 4 months, I was able to then publish on my godson's birthday, August 10th. And we were able to get the book out. And so I never thought it would happen because I had tried and stopped and tried and stopped, and I never thought it would happen. And it was a God project.
Yes.
It was a God project. And so I had to trust that this was his project, not mine. So he was going to make it happen. And like you said, when we do things in our own strength, it doesn't work the way it would if we just said, "Okay, God, what you want me to do? I'm gonna do it your way."
Absolutely, yes. And now here we are with a book later, and you are also building community around the book, around your show up and shine. So I love that. So can you share in your from your book maybe one or two strategies that can help women to show up that have been a game changer for the busy women, right? Because listen, we are moms, we are wives, we work 9 to 5s, do all the things. So what are some strategies that can help?
So, gosh, it's hard to choose. So there's two different chapters that are I don't want to say my favorite, but ones that I find myself really going back to, especially when I teach from the book. And one is the branding chapter. And in the branding chapter, I share my story of how I built my business, my very first business, the decor business, backwards. and that I teach on how, in hindsight, I see the mistake clearly. I had built my business backwards. I never sat down to answer the fundamental branding questions. Who am I? Who am I serving? Why does this business exist? And why should anyone care about what I offer? And so, because I am a certified branding coach, branding is all through the book. Even in the back, I have a whole section on a whole section of worksheets. And so one of the first things is to find your brand voice. And so I think the branding chapter is really good for maybe women who are entrepreneurs and they're frustrated. They haven't found their tribe. They haven't built community. That's a chapter in the book as well, building community. And I talk a lot about how I built my community, or how my community was built. And so I think the branding chapter, it's the longest chapter in the book, I think is most helpful for women who, need to understand that they are the brand. It's not website. It's not your website. It's not logos. It's not colors. It's you. It's how you make people feel. It's what they say about you when you're not in the room. So I would say for my business women, I would say that the niche chapter is probably the one that I refer to most. As you can see, all of my highlights and notes.
I love it.
And let me tell you something, Juanita. Do you see these tabs?
Yes.
You see these tabs? There was a woman who commented on a post that I made, and she said that she carries my book with her every day to work, every single day. She takes it with her everywhere she goes. And she said, first of all, for that, I was like, oh, as an author, you're like,
Yes, that's big.
right? You take my book? She says, yes, I take your book, my Bible, and my playbook with me everywhere that I go. And I was just honored. I was just like, whoa. But then she said, I have tabs. I tab the book. And I said, what you mean you tab the book? I said, you got to show me a picture. So she sent me a picture. And so I went ahead and I was like, I tab my book.
Yes.
And it really is helpful because it helps you to go right back to, the page. But I was just so like, wow, like you take my book with you everywhere you go. And so there's been, a few women that say, what the book has done for them, how it's helped them. And they say that it's the action steps, the action plan at the end of each chapter. It's the key takeaways. And it's, the fact that I am telling my story transparently, vulnerably, in all, being authentic with it, that is helping them the most. So it's a very easy read. My daughter went to Korea for 7 weeks, and she read it in like a couple of days while she was there, and then took wonderful pictures of my book in Korea. But she said it's a very easy read, and people have said they love the fact that it's in color, and that they're color pictures in here. And I think that it's that's me and my mom.
Aw.
And so I think that it really is a book that you can highlight, you can write, you can get yourself some tabs and, tab it up. And, when you purchase it from me, you get a bookmark. And so it just becomes like,
Right. Yeah. Listen, I don't know if you have close by, but I've seen you share. I cannot wait for mine to come. I've seen you share the packaging, right? When we talk about branding,
I
I
actually,
want you to share. I think that is so amazing. I love it. Yes. So when we talk about branding, listen, this is definitely taking it a step further.
and this is me. This is what I'm all about when it comes to branding. This is what branding is. And it's not the fact that my face is on here. It's not the fact that, the brand is on here. What it is the wow factor.
Yes.
It's how you make people feel.
Yes.
When they get this in the mail, it's like, oh my
Yes.
gosh. It's worth it to me to spend a couple extra dollars to be able to do this. That when you get your mail and you have a pile of bills, but you're like, oh, what's that thing?
Right. Yes,
Ink
absolutely.
in the mail, right? And then you see it and you're like, oh, look at that smile. Oh my gosh, like you feel like my best friend just, popped into my mailbox. And so this was important for me. So when then you pull out your book and you're like,
Yeah, it makes you so you're not gonna throw away the package, right? Because it's just I love it.
I hope not. Like, please don't put me in the garbage.
I love that. I told you when you pop up on my Facebook, like if my spirits were low, it makes me just brighten up. So and that's what we think about when we talk about branding. How do you make people feel when they're not even in the room with you? Or when just the way that people mention your name in different rooms, right? When I talk about you, I can like this lady just makes me feel bright, right? She makes my energy just heighten. So it definitely is like how do you make people feel when you're not even in the room with them? So
You see how important that is?
that's
And that's more important than I don't like my voice, I don't like my hair, I'm not wearing makeup. Nobody cares about that stuff. This stuff is superficial, but your whole brand is set on who you are and
yes.
how you make people feel. Somebody will hear you, hear your story, hear your voice, feel your authenticity, and they will say, I need you to come with me. I need you in my conference. I need you to do this. Come teach my people. Let's collaborate. You want to be on my podcast? And it's not because that you're in this perfect package, but it's what comes out of that package.
Absolutely. It's you being your authentic self, right? No one can duplicate who God created you to be. You know what I mean? And one thing, and I promise you I'm gonna move to the next point. One thing that for me, I didn't really know who I was or what my purpose was until I got in deep, right? I got in deep with God and he showed me who he is, which ultimately showed me who I am and who I'm supposed to be. So I think that's very important when we talk about branding too. You gotta make sure you know who God is.
Yes. Because if you don't know who he is, if you don't understand his nature, then
Yes.
who you are, you
Yeah.
have to know who he is in order to know who you are supposed to be in this world.
Absolutely. When we think about our God-given purpose, it comes from him. So we have to know him. But I know we can go on and on about that. I know that we can have another podcast conversation about that because I think it is a very important conversation to have. So, Miss Andrea, I know you are inspiring so many people, right? So let's talk about the Shine Effect Anthology. So what was your vision for that and how has it impacted the contributors, but also you as well?
So, like I said, I started going live every day at 10 a.m., every weekday at 10 a.m. And I was doing that for 2 years. The community that I built was birthed out of the comment section of my lives. And so one of the things that I've been told that I'm really good at is building relationships. And I always, people always say they feel seen when they're on my live. They feel heard. They feel, I always, try to say hello to every single person. And, I make a big deal because I want people to feel seen. And so it started with that. And then with different women, coming in and sharing. And, it was like, it wasn't just me as this talking head on the live, but they were talking back. And then I would invite them to come and sit with me on the live. And so then people would hear their story. And, I did that a lot. And then we started to do Zooms together and, just building community. And then we realized every time I saw one of them post something on social media, or if they did their live, they would always give me credit for
Yeah.
saying for my yes. They would
Yeah.
always say, they would always tie everything that they were doing back to Andrea, back to Shine with Andrea, back to being a part of the Shine crew. And then what I realized is that the women on their lives started doing the same thing.
Wow.
And they started going live. They started walking confidently in their purpose. They started shining. And these are women I've never met. These are women that never came to my life, but this is what we call the Shine Effect.
Yes.
And so I was just like, oh my gosh, we've got to put our stories in a book. We've got to put our stories in a book. We have to tell the story of the Shine Effect, because this story is going to inspire so many other women, because we have to realize that it's not just about us. We don't shine just for us, but we shine so that other women, because they will look at us and they will say, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
You know, when I was a kid, I didn't realize that I could write a book.
Right.
My mother had, oh my gosh, she had so many books, so many textbooks. She was an educator, but she was also in college. I went to college when I was 6 years old. I don't know about you, but I was in college at 6 years old, participating, writing on the board, doing assignments. Okay. And so I was always around books and always wanted to teach and all of that. I mean, teaching is what I do. But I, as far as like seeing it, I didn't know an author. I met James Baldwin when I was 6, and I knew that he wrote a book, but he was so far away. It
Right.
seemed so far fetched. It seemed like impossible, which is why I didn't think it could happen for me.
Okay.
I wanted, because I was writing my book at the time when we started the Shine Effect, I wanted these women to experience becoming authors and then eventually becoming published authors. I wanted to give them a platform. If I could give them a platform in the sense of leading them down this road, letting them know, yes, you can do this. Because there were a few that said, no, I can't.
Okay.
And the ones that stuck around, it's 14 of us all together. The ones that stuck around, if you just go to Facebook and put in the Shine Effect, you will find all 13 of the contributing authors. You will see their stories, and it's just amazing to see where they were
Mm-hmm.
and where they are today. And so, the Shine Effect, I know that is going to be that is going to be something really big when other women get wind of it and see, wow, if I start shining, then I'm going to be responsible for other women who are going to start shining too. And then it's just a ripple effect, and it just keeps happening.
I love it. It sounds like it's already big, right? I think if you can inspire one or two people to show up and shine, you've done an amazing thing. And I want to tag you. So my co-host for Hope at the End of the Tunnel, our podcast. So she had her cup featured on Jennifer Hudson's show. And it says, if I got through it, you can too. So I love that. So I'm gonna tag you in her post so you can see, like, the shine effect, it works, it happens with people that you don't even know, right? Yes.
A
I-
lot of these women I didn't know before. So, we all became a part of this
yeah.
anthology just because I saw what was happening. It was a vision, and I said, and one of the things I told them, I said, we're going to be on Good Morning America one day.
Come on,
Like,
yes.
I speak it into existence. I believe that one day we will show up on TV, because this is what we need as a country, as a
Yes.
community, to see women coming together, not bickering, not fighting, no drama, but to be able to say that we can walk through stuff, because it's not all a bed of roses, right? It's not
Yeah.
rainbows and unicorns, right? But to be able to walk this path together as authors, to be able to tell our stories so that other women can see it and say, wow, I want to get up now. I'm ready to shine. I want to be a part of the Shine crew. I want to be a part of the Shine Effect. That inspiration, that encouragement that we need to be able to say, I'm not going to let go of my dreams anymore. It's not too late for me. I'm not too old. I do have something inside of me. I am worthy. I am valuable. And so that's my whole platform. That's my whole message. That's my whole movement. And that is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Love it. I love it. So you've taken these steps to come out of hiding and you are motivating so many women to do the same thing. So if you can share maybe just one or two steps, right? What's the first two steps to step into the light for women and to come out of hiding?
Really, it's the first one is to go back to your first love, is to really learn the nature of God, to know, it's one thing about what you've been told when you were in Sunday school, what you hear from the pulpit, what you see on TV, the things, the words that you've heard other people, other influential people say, but it's for you to really get down and dirty with Him
Yeah.
and learn His nature, learn really who He is and what you mean to Him. I think it's so important for you to find your identity in God first, because you have to know who you are. The next thing is to believe it. Is to believe it. Because if you don't believe it, what you believe in your mind is what you will actually do. Your beliefs is what's going to what creates your decisions, what creates your choices. And so even though I never thought the book would happen, there was something in me that said, one day, maybe I'll be in my 70s, maybe I'll be in my 90s, one day I know it's going to happen. Just like with my daughter, for 2 years, she would say, she wanted to photograph the president of the United States. For two
Wow.
years, she said that. And then it came to be because she believed it. She believed it. She was on a national television program one day, and they said, if you could photograph anybody in the world, who would it be? And
Yeah.
and she had just turned 8 years old, and she said, President Barack. No, she said the president of the United States. And when when the show was over, I said to her, I said, Madison,
Yes.
why'd you say that? Like I didn't make her think out like it wouldn't happen or anything.
Sure.
But I was thinking to myself in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want my baby's spirits to be crushed when this doesn't happen. How is she going to photograph the president of the United States? Like, that's not, you can't. Hello. Yeah, I just, I'm 9 years old. I want to photograph the president. Like,
Right.
I can't do that, right? And so to see that happen, that she believed it. And I asked her, I said, why did you say that? She said, because it's the biggest dream that I could possibly dream from my photography business. And she said, and if it happens, then other little children, other kids will believe that their dreams can happen too.
Oh, I
So,
love.
so the two things is knowing who you are in Him, and then believing it.
Yes, absolutely. Oof, wow, I love that. Your daughter had faith the size of a mustard seed, right? And that's really all that you need. That's really all that you need. So, Miss Andrea, and the way that I ask this question now, right? Because when I think about legacy, we often think legacy is what we leave behind, but I think that legacy is what we live right now, right? So, what is the legacy that you want to live out today, but also leave behind?
I want women to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. It brings tears to my eyes because when I tell you this is my life's work,
Yeah.
I want women to know how much they matter, and that what God placed on the inside of them matters. I
Yes.
want them to know that their gift was never meant to be hidden. And so I want women to see me showing up imperfect, not ready, showing up in my mess, and knowing that they can do it too. That's what I want. I want to leave behind a legacy for my daughter
Yeah.
that she will never give up. She can't give up. My mother left a legacy for me where this is who I am. My mother was very quiet. She wasn't even 5 feet.
She's my height.
She was 4'11", very quiet. You would never know that she's in the room,
Oh,
but she was so strong. She was such a strong woman and had such a presence.
yeah.
And it's because of her why I never gave up. My mother started college when I was a little girl. She graduated when I was a woman. She
Wow.
never gave up. And so I want my daughter, no matter what comes, no matter what happens in life, I want her to always push past her quit and never give up, because that's all she saw her mom do. She is here, lives with me in this house with me and my husband. She sees the good, the bad, the ugly. But one thing she can always say is no matter what my mother went through,
Yeah. Ooh,
pushed through, and she never gave up. And that is what I want my legacy to be. I want women to show up, shine, and never give up.
I love it. I love it. You are definitely encouraging and motivating me to continue pushing through, continue shining, no matter what obstacles, no matter what mountains are in the way, just continue trusting in God, right? For the strength to show up. So, is there anything that you maybe are working on, anything coming up that we can be on the lookout for?
One of the things that, one of the things that we do on the first Friday of every month is we have something we call First Friday's virtual worship experience. So my husband's a DJ. So we gather together on Zoom on the first Friday of every month, and he plays worship music. And, you can be on camera or not. And we just worship together for a few hours. And it's really a beautiful time to see how God moves when you just focus on him and worship him. So that's one of the things that we do every Friday night, every first Friday, the first Friday of every month. That's one of the things that we do. Also, I have what I call Shine Academy. And I am getting ready to set up the registration for teaching women how to do what I did using my book as the tool. My book is the resource. So that's why I've been telling people grab the book and get in the class, because I want to teach you how to show up. And this is going to help women to grow their platform, to create community, and not have to worry about creating the curriculum, because you have it right here. You can read this, tell your audience to read it. You can do it live. You can do it on Zoom. You can do it in like a book club setting. You can do it at a restaurant, in a park. It doesn't matter where you do it. But, one of the things that have always been on my heart is to bring women together. I want to see women come together and talk and
Yeah.
laugh. It's like my biggest thing is just to be around a table with women from all walks of life, and learning together, growing together, loving on each other, not tearing each other down, but building each other up. And so I'm going to be teaching a class on how to do that, and you can use your own stories. Once you read, the chapter, then you can talk about it using your own stories. And then, of course, when you show up to do that, then you give people a reason to know, like, and trust you. So then, of course, what do they want to do? They want to follow you, right? And I always talk about the 3 E's, and that is to encourage, entertain, or educate. So you get to use what's in this book to build your platform, to grow your audience, and to engage and become a thought leader, and not have to worry about it being perfect, because you
Right.
have something that you can use. So that's like one of the big things. And then, of course, the anthology, is I'm really excited about the Shine Effect and seeing the impact it's going to make in the lives of the authors, the contributing authors, and then, of course, the women that they touch. So Um, so yeah, I think I do have something really, really big that's coming, but I'm not at liberty to talk about it yet. So, I always tell people just make sure that you hit that follow
Yeah.
button, so that when it comes out, or get on my email list. On the email list, actually, you do get the niche chapter. You do get a free copy of the niche chapter, and you get show up and shine declarations, and show up and shine tips for going live, or show up and shine tips for not going live, for doing it, off of social media. So I love to share. I love to teach. And
Yes.
that whatever I know, I'm going to share it with somebody else. I believe that that's just, how we were created to be. And so yeah, so just get shined up, and stay in the loop.
Absolutely. And speaking of, how can we connect with you on social media? Join your email list so we don't miss the amazing things coming down the line.
So if you just go to my website, and just click the buttons, shinewithandrea.com, shinewithandrea.com. There's the books tab, there's the branding tab, there is we have merch. So we have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have one of my favorite things, my journal. So just go to the website, show up and shinewithandrea.com. And from there, that's where we are on social media as well. Shinewithandrea.com. Well, Shine with Andrea.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I've loved this conversation. Listen, the wheels are already turning in my head of how we can get you to share even more about show up and shine to encourage the women, even the men who need it, right?
Yes.
Because I think that it's definitely necessary for the season, the times that we are in right now, just that light that you bring, that hope that you bring. I have been motivated, encouraged, inspired, all the things during our time together. I hate that it is coming to an end. I know there's so much more that we can probably dive in and talk about. But listeners, make sure that you go and connect with Miss Andrea on social media, join her email list, tune in on first Fridays of the month. I'm definitely making sure that I save that date in my calendar so that I can pop on. I have appreciated this time. Thank you so much. Make sure when you go and listen to the episode, leave a comment, right? Share some takeaway. One thing that really touched you, motivated you, that you're going to walk out in your daily life. Those reviews, they help create more visibility, right, for the show so that the people who need to hear it, they're able to stumble across it, right? Share it with someone who needs the reminders to show up and shine, and make sure that you stay tuned for the next episode. This has been amazing. Thank you so much, Miss Andrea.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
It was
absolutely.
great. I had a lot of fun.
Yes, great. I'm glad to hear that. I hope that by the end, the nerves were all gone.
Yes. You made it easy. You made it
Good,
easy.
good. I think this has been a great conversation. We will definitely have you back on. We're going to talk all things the anthology. So, and I hope I get to have some of the ladies in the project on to share their journeys too.
They would absolutely love that.
Yes, absolutely. We will make it happen. Well, until next time, listeners, y'all make sure you follow us on social media, Authors Impact Hub. Follow the Facebook community. If you are an author, we're always dropping different motivation tips in there to help you make an impact with your writing. Until next time, y'all take care.